So, if you saw my Spectrum Noir review, you will know that I accidentally dripped refill ink all over one of the pages in my review sketchbook when I was trying to fill a marker, apparently added too much ink. Lesson definitely learned for the next time when I have to refill an unfamiliar marker. Don't do it over a sheet of paper I'm going to use to review. Well, the page isn't technically ruined, but I didn't want to use it for another review since the drips landed on the part where the Speedpaint normally goes, and my OCD would never let me switch sides or something like that. But I didn't want to tear the page out either since it's still mostly clean and perfectly usable, and I already have a lot of backing sheets that work perfectly fine, so I don't need more of those. Long story short, I came to a compromise, and instead of throwing it away or doing another marker review on it, I decided to do some more art with the markers that ruined it in the first place, because apparently I hate myself. I had purchased several refill inks to see how it worked with refilling markers, because I didn't think I would get any actually dry markers. Again, if you saw that review, you know that that's not exactly how it worked out. But anyway, so I decided I would do something fun and try some galaxy art. From my Resin Charm video that I just posted recently, you probably know that I'm into galaxies all of a sudden, so no one should be surprised this is what I came up with. First, I drew the profile of a face with long swirly hair that I could fill in with an abstract galaxy type image. After I inked the face, I whipped out a fresh jar of Pebeo masking fluid. It's been a while since I've used masking fluid in a video on this channel. I have used liquid Frisket a few times. If you've seen my older videos, and you probably are familiar with that. I've never used this brand before, so it's a new thing for me. And I used my ruling pen to apply it, outlining the hair and covering the entire face except the iris of the eye, because I wanted that all to stay a nice stark white, while the galaxy would be a sharp, crisp image in contrast. Once the masking fluid was done, I let it dry for a couple of hours and came back to play. After scribbling a bit with the true black marker in random areas, I added some BT5 as well, which is a dark turquoise sort of blue color, and some CR3 after that, which is a dusty pink. Now I'm going to go in with the first of my refill inks. This is FS2, the original offender that dripped on this page and made this artwork become a thing. I basically filled the dropper and then started randomly dripping it all over empty space on the page. Then I added some IB3 ink in the same way. Again, random splotches here or there. This one is a dark blue. These eyedroppers, however, are way worse than the cheap pipettes I usually use, so they dropped way more ink than I wanted them to the majority of the time. However, in Spectrum Noir's defense, to be perfectly fair, the point of these droppers is to squirt ink into the barrel of the marker, so it's not like this application is what they were made for. They're not precision droppers. I eventually discovered that you can get little splashes of color. If you squeeze it with a small amount of ink, then it sort of flies around a little and doesn't just drop puddles of ink everywhere. Once that was done, I added LV1 to the mix, and I thought it was going to be purple when I bought it. You can see on the box, it's definitely a lavender purple. I'm sure that's what LV stands for, lavender. But yeah, no, it's like a really bright, cool pink. Thankfully, FS2 is a warm pink, so there was at least some variation there, but it definitely isn't the color advertised, which, to be fair, is par for the course as far as Spectrum Noir is concerned. From then on, I just kept throwing ink around like my name was Jackson Pollock until I got something I sort of liked. Unfortunately, that meant that there was a lot of ink pooling around, so I did end up blotting up some of the excess from the page with some paper towel. Then I came back with a black marker to add some more dark areas since it was looking a little too bright for me, before grabbing the Colorless blender refill I had and going to town with that, dripping it all over in random spots. This speed paint is a lot of randomness if you haven't noticed. When I said play, I definitely meant I was going to play. I did the same thing with a plastic pipette and some 100% pure acetone, since I discovered in my review that it has a different, though equally as interesting effect with Spectrum Noir ink, and I wanted a little more variety. I let that dry completely before coming back with some white acrylic paint and a water brush. After thinning the paint with water, I used my finger to pull the brush tip back and fling some stars all over the place, which I have to admit was definitely the most fun part so far. I accidentally put my hand on a large drop of paint close to the middle of the page, however, which kind of made a mess. But I decided to smudge it a little more and make it into a sort of shooting star type thing. I also made some bigger stars by making dots with a small paintbrush, and large shining stars by drawing plus signs and little starburst shapes that centered on a single white dot, sporadically where I thought they were necessary. Then it was time to remove the masking fluid with my adhesive eraser, and I don't know if this was the masking fluid's fault, since I've never used this brand before, or if it was the Spectrum Noir ink, but either way, I've used masking fluid before plenty of times, and I've never had a problem with it bleeding past the edges, or if it does, it was very mild and only in a few spots. Well, I have a problem here, as you can see. The edges are feathered and pastel and not crisp at all. So after I got over being sad about that, I began the arduous process of using white acrylic paint to resharpen the outside edges of the image where the ink wasn't supposed to bleed, and touching up the line art that I had already added in before it was finally done. At the time I was really upset it had bled so much, but looking at it now in these pictures, I don't really hate it. It was just a lot of extra work cleaning up everything when the masking fluid should have done that part for me. Don't forget to like if you like galaxies, subscribe and ring the bell for more left brain type videos, and until next time I'll see y'all later. Bye!